Hey guys, Matt Donald here. I have heard your feedback at last. All of you who have subscribed to the Patreon at patreon.com/MatthewDonald, where we discuss pop culture featuring prehistoric animals. For the last year, you've been like, hey, Matt Donald, you and your little co-hosts have barely talked about pop culture featuring prehistoric animals. Instead, you've talked about whatever other crap you want, and flimsily connecting it to paleontology or prehistoric animals in some way. Like, Friends, because Ross is sometimes a paleontologist? Corpse Bride, because it's a corpse that comes to life like Jurassic Park? What are you talking about? When are you going to talk about something that actually has dinosaurs in it? Rest assured, listeners, I have heard your feedback loud and clear, and this month we're talking about something that definitely has dinosaurs in it. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness! A T-Rex and a Triceratops appear in the background in one scene where they're traveling through the dimensions for all of a second and a half. You're welcome, listeners. Link is in the description before you can sign up to the Patreon. Thanks for your support. Have a good day. Yeah.
Roar, growl, snarl, bellow.
Welcome to Paleobites, the podcast where little Jack Horner sits in a corner as we mock his paleontological takes.
Sounds about right.
My name is Matthew Donald. Each week, I and a rotating series of guest co-hosts talk about and rate a genus of prehistoric animal, be it dinosaur, mammal, arthropod, and so on. This week, I'm joined by Jack Horner's biggest fan, self-proclaimed.
No.
He says he agrees with all of his ideas. T-Rex is a scavenger. Pachycephalosaurus is has a bunch of different other species within its gene. Yep, that's you.
No.
Yeah,
Just because
Stephen
I did a
Curro.
report on him in college doesn't mean I buy into his asinine theories.
Did you see the new Puss in Boots movie that just came out?
I did not.
Okay, so Jack Horner's the villain in it. But again, that's why I can't. That's why I realized. Oh wait,
I see.
that's like because there's the nursery rhyme. Little Jack Horner sat in a corner, but in this he's Big Jack Horner, and he's voiced by John Mulaney, which is funny. But I just I had forgotten that he was named. I mean, obviously the nursery rhyme came first, but
Right.
and technically Jack Horner, his real name is John Horner. So
Right, technically, but everyone calls him Jack Horner.
yeah, and that Puss in Boots movie is pretty good. The villain in it, you think it's the Big Bad Wolf, turns out it's just Death.
Oh.
Like he's got these
that
scythes.
That got dark.
Yeah, and he's like he says like I'm Death, not metaphorically, not poetically. I am literally Death, because the whole thing is that Puss in Boots is like he's on his 9th life.
Right.
And he needs to get the wishing star to try and get his lives back because he's been wasting his lives. And Death is mad at him for wasting all of his other lives, not taking them seriously. So he's just going to finish his last one himself.
Uh-oh.
So,
Wow.
and he's got this whistle that's pretty eerie. Whenever Puss in Boots he hears the whistle, he just gets terrified.
That's actually really intricate for the whole Shrek saga.
I know. Although, there's a thing where he when he first sees Death and he gets the top of his head and Puss in Boots is hiding and then a bit of blood drips down his forehead from the scythe and then you see his life flashing before his eyes. And it does show one of the clips that shows him is from Shrek, from him with Shrek and Donkey. And I'm like, wow, this universe got dark. But
way to go, Antonio Banderas.
I know, exactly. It was a good movie though. People have been putting it up against Avatar for their because it's another long-awaited sequel.
Well, if you're going to compare special effects, Avatar 2 wins, hands down. But if you're going to compare stories, honestly, Avatar 2 could have been a little better.
I mean, hey, that's the same with the first one. It's not really about the story; it's about the experience.
It's
about the vibe.
It's a very immersive experience.
Yeah.
And if it motivates people to protect the environment and other things, then that's good.
I don't know why people give Avatar such a bad rap for the plot. It's not like Lord of the Rings has the best plot either.
I'm just going to say one word.
Yeah.
Spider.
Yeah.
You saw the movie?
Yeah,
right?
I saw this movie. I didn't mind Spider. Some people hated him. I liked him.
I liked his concept, but then he was so erratic. Oh, hey, Jake, I hope you don't mind. I rescued the madman who tried to murder your family. We good, bro? No.
I think that had depth to his character at the end. Also, I do think they're kind of because earlier when Neytiri threatened to kill Spider,
right?
Well, and then Quaritch said that means nothing to me. But then eventually Quaritch proved him wrong. Was like, okay, fine. So that's why he felt like he owed him his life.
I mean, I guess.
But then also, I really think they're setting up Quaritch for a redemption arc in the next one.
You think so?
Yeah, just because I don't think James Cameron would be dumb enough to have Quaritch be the villain for a third time.
I heard they stated he's going to be the villain for the whole series.
Really?
I could be wrong.
Well, I don't know. Well, they'll have to figure out some way to make it more interesting, I guess. But then I don't know. Like they also implied he seemed kind of hurt when Spider left him, and like they also, the first Quaritch did terrible things, and so did this one too. But they did make sure to point out he's not the same guy. He just has his memories.
Right.
So I don't know. They could be setting up a redemption arc for him.
I don't know.
Possibly. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, because I think what's going to happen personally, I don't know, and this is my dinosaur-related question, guys, because we're talking about Avatar. I think what's going to happen is that lady that said, like, we got to move here permanently, she's going to be the villain in the final. Later.
She's definitely going to have a big hand to play.
Yeah, right? And then Quaritch will have to team up with Jake again. I don't know. We'll have to see. I have faith in James Cameron to pull it off.
Oh, yeah, no. Whatever he comes up with, I'll go see. It'll be fun. I just hope that the story's a little less predictable.
I don't know. I mean, hey, I didn't expect that one kid to die.
Yeah, that was kind of...
their oldest kid.
That was a little surprising.
Yeah, but other than that, I don't know. I think the story's a bit better. This is less predictable. But again, Avatar's not really about the story. It's about the vibe.
Right. Again, the vibe is beautiful.
It's just like how you feel during it. And it's sort of like, all the interesting biota, is that the word? Of the world of Avatar. And speaking of interesting biota, we're talking about a very interesting Oviraptor or oviraptorosaur. Man. And I know one that's you're a big fan of the character that is a species in my Megazoic books.
Yes.
I mean, look, she is kind of one note. I didn't really go into much depth in her character, but she was just a side part of the ragtag team. So
I mean, I was on an airplane on my way to one of my cousin's weddings, I think, when I was reading that book.
Yeah.
And then I read that first training scene where Brookie, right?
Brookie.
Where Brookie comes out and she's like, missiles, missiles, missiles. And I was just laughing so hard. And it was just like,
she's pretty fun. Manic. Like
it's crazy.
she's like, she's just like, so sings over and over again, like just all this other stuff. So,
and what strange species is she?
She's a Gigantoraptor.
Yes.
It means giant thief. I actually, in an earlier version of Megazoic I wrote in high school, the day I found out about this creature, the day I found the news article about it, I put it in that version.
Ah, nice.
Because I try to make sure it includes some new species whenever I can. Like I found out about Yi. I think it was discovered as I was writing the first of the current Megazoic books. So that's why I was like, I got to fit it in somehow. So I put in a third one. And there's so many more that have come out since then. I'm like, I guess I gotta go back.
Every year they find a new species. It's outrageous.
They find so many new species every year. We're in the golden age of dinosaur discovery. So it means giant thief. Type it as an oviraptorosaur. In fact, the biggest one ever so far. How big though? It's 26 feet / 8 meters long, 1.8 to 2 tons.
Yes, very big.
It's a lot bigger than the others in its family.
I just remember seeing Gigantoraptor in an episode of, I think it was Planet Dinosaur.
Yes, as one of the pop culture appearances.
Right. Like,
just something appears out of nowhere with scaring off the other the other Oviraptor. And I'm like,
that's not. I mean, that might have happened in the same episode, but the moment I'm thinking of, there's a Tyrannosaur of some sort that approaches
probably Tarbosaurus.
Probably Tarbosaurus, because this is Asia. But it approaches this Gigantoraptor nest, and then both of them run the Tyrannosaur off. It's like these two gigantic demonic chickens. It's
like, it's
holy
crazy.
Cow!
It's pretty crazy. It's an omnivore, like most Oviraptors, although it's hard to tell, kind of. But I assume it's an omnivore. Mm-hmm. I mean, it could browse off of trees, or it could just pluck something off the ground. Time mid-Cretaceous, 100 to 96 billion years ago. That's earlier than I thought, so maybe it wasn't Tarbosaurus, because that'd be later, huh?
It was some kind of... It wasn't Tyrannosaurus rex. It was a Asian species.
Or maybe Electrosaurus with an A. That
Possibly.
one's around that area, I think.
I saw an Electrosaurus skull once.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's another story, though.
It's in Mongolia, described 2007. Pop culture appearances, the documentaries Extreme Dinosaurs, Bizarre Dinosaurs, Dinosaur Revolution, and Planet Dinosaur. And also the show Dino Dana, which I assume is the staff counterpart of the show Dino Dan that I've had on this, mentioned a few times. And I refuse to do any further research to think otherwise. Like, so maybe Dino Dana came first, maybe they're totally unrelated. Who knows and who cares? Sorry, Dan and Dana. So when it comes to dinosaur groups, usually they're all roughly the same size, maybe one big member to stand out. Like Stegosaurus is the big stegosaur. Triceratops and Pentaceratops are the big ceratopsians. Utahraptor is the big dromaeosaur, and so on. But usually by big, it's only a little bit bigger, like 30 or 40% bigger.
Right.
How about one where the biggest representative is 3 times as long and 35 times heavier
Yeah.
than the next biggest one? That's Gigantoraptor in
That's
regards
just-
to the
that's just
Oviraptorosaur.
insane.
That's insane. Where's the middle ground? Did one just suddenly hatch Paul Bunyan style for
So by comparison, it's like having all the varieties of normal chicken, and then having
a chicken the size of a horse? Or
Right,
something.
right, exactly.
So like Oviraptor, Gigantoraptor had developed feathers, but since it was so big and it lived in the hot desert, it was probably also partially naked. Maybe it had like a mostly featherless neck and head like an ostrich. I could see that. Can you imagine seeing an ostrich about 15 feet tall?
That would be just a little intimidating.
Like, I would die. Not due to it kicking or pecking or disemboweling me. I'd have a heart attack seeing it. It's like I'd just be like, no. Because imagine, like, this thing, like, and also it has a pretty big head, so it's just like it just goes pluck.
Yeah, the powerful beak. Very
Yeah.
powerful beak.
Powerful beak, just like you pluck and then just down its gullet. Like,
I would have a strong compulsion to run. I don't know
for some
about you.
reason, I would find running into this thing more terrifying than running into like whatever Tarbosaurus or whatever creature.
Yeah,
Like-
I think it's just because like you see Tarbosaurus, Tyrannosaurus, it's a big, scary, somewhat reptilian animal with teeth,
Yeah.
you know, but that's a familiar idea to us. Then you see this creature, which is just so utterly bizarre
Yeah.
and gigantic.
And also,
I think that's what makes it freaky.
also, it seemed very lightly built. I bet it could run really fast.
Oh, yeah.
Like a Tarbosaurus, I feel like if given enough a head start, I could outrun it.
You said it was only what, 1 ton, something like that?
Yeah, like 1 or 2 tons.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's
I imagine, like, did you ever see, what was it, that one of the live action fairy tale movies, Jack the Giant Slayer?
no.
It's all right. But there's one part they do a really good job of making the giants seem scary and doing like, and not only are they big but also fast.
Yeah.
Like at one point, one of them runs into them when they're up on the top of the beanstalk and they're in the land of the giants or whatever. And this one soldier runs into one, and he freaks out and he runs. And you see the giant just watching him run. And the guy runs like as fast as he can for like 20 seconds. And then suddenly the giant just takes 2 steps and then just coasts.
Right.
Finally, after giving enough a head start, he's like, boom, boom, grabbing him. And that's what I feel like this would be. It would watch you run for a bit, like, oh, you think you can get away? Oh, you think you can get away? I don't even have to try. Boop, boop.
I'm not even going to jog.
I'm not even going to jog. I'm going
get
to wait a little bit, make you think you're safe, and then just boop, boop.
You're toying with me.
Just like, it's not even an effort for me to like, maybe I'm overselling this thing, but I don't know. It's just so. But since it's kind of goofy looking too, that's kind of one of the reasons why I made Brookie one.
I mean, this is what. Yeah.
Like-
This is why I like paleontology, though. You see so many bizarre things.
Yeah, like see, like at least with Therizinosaurus and Dinochirus, which are the 2 similar-ish looking ones from different families, they're slow. Like, we used to think Dinochirus was fast until we found out it was like a big humpbacked like
Right.
stork thing. Like, and then Therizinosaurus has really short legs and like a short tail and is like basically like a giant ground sloth in dinosaur form.
Well,
But this would be fast, I think. I don't know.
hopefully, Gigantoraptor would, be distracted by scavenging for roots or something.
Plus, it's called Gigantoraptor.
It's big.
That's also one of the reasons why I chose it, because part of the reason, so in my second Mechazoic book, I introduced the Alpha Squad, and part of the Alpha Squad, their gimmick is to make them seem, at first when Corten sees them, they're supposed to be like, oh my god, this is the Alpha, they're so big and scary and
They're terrifying.
all this stuff, and ruthless. There's a reason why they're the top ones, and so I made sure all their species names were really scary sounding. So you have Gigantoraptor, you have Diabloceratops, you have Tyrannotitan. Saroniops it's not as scary sounding until you look at what the name means.
Right, Sauron.
Eye of Sauron. Like,
You did well.
I found out recently that Saroniops might not be a valid species anymore. That's the problem with writing paleo fiction.
Yeah, you
like,
gotta be careful.
God, I know so many people are like, "Oh, this is out." Like, "Oh, this isn't accurate." Like, none of it's ever going to be accurate.
Well, you could always make it like, whatever the new species they class that under. You could.
I think it's just like a Carcharodontosaurus again. But
Okay.
I mean, I could do that. Yeah,
My ethnicity identifies as Sauroniops. Something like that.
Something like that. I could see it. Well, it's like one of the reasons when I found out just a little bit after I finished the final draft of An Era's End that Amphicoelius was actually a lot smaller than we thought. and like that.
That's a little depressing.
And then the big vertebrae we found of is actually of another type of long neck called Marapunisaurus, which is in the Rabacasaurid family, which often have higher spines and are shorter in length. So I'm like, so this 200-foot long Diplodocus just didn't exist. So I made sure to hastily add a line before it came out. Genetically altered.
Yeah.
Like,
Good call.
yeah.
Good call.
So even though it's just not the same. In terms of breeding for a Gigantoraptor, I actually learned a new term in researching this creature. In the 1970s, a nest was found in the formation that Gigantoraptor was found in Mongolia, with eggs laid in a massive ring 10 feet across, or 3 meters. And no one knew what kind of dinosaur laid these eggs, as they looked like oviraptorosaur eggs, but they were much bigger. And we didn't have Gigantoraptor as a species at the time.
Right.
So what they were, in 1995, they were assigned to the genus Macroelongatulithus, which is apparently what's known as an OO genus.
An OO genus?
Yeah, OO genus. There's also OO species and OO taxa.
So what does it have to be to qualify as OO?
Basically, it's a description of an animal whose only fossil evidence is its eggs.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, so like when you write a paper describing a new species, usually based on the evidence, but it's only known from the eggs. It's known as an OO species or OO genus.
Huh.
Well, did orangutan coin this term? Just OO genus.
Right.
I'm sure there's some sort of etymology for that. It just makes you think like paleontologists went to their orangutan, like, hey, Mr. Louis, what are we going to call this term? And he's like, ooh. It's like, okay, are you sir, Mr. Louis? Ooh, taxa, if you insist. And the orangutan's like, because it's a freaking orangutan.
It reminds me of the growliter, though, because like that's a species that's only known by its footprints.
Oh, yeah. That's interesting. I wonder
know.
what that. I think those are called trace fossils. I don't know what the term for.
I know that like all footprints are trace fossils, but like when you only know it by the footprint, growliter is technically a placeholder name until they link it to something.
Well, I
else.
think based on, I'm assuming I'm only based on the fact that the genus they named for it is Macroelongatulithus. I'm assuming that's a placeholder name. No way were they planning on keeping that. Macroelongatulithus.
I don't know. They kept Archaeornithomimon.
That's true, but that is true. But once fossils of Gigantoraptor were discovered and described a few years later, the origins of these eggs became pretty apparent. But yeah, Macroelongatulithus has now been replaced as a valid taxon. Shame that genus really rolled off the tongue. Sorry, OO genus.
Rhyme that in a poetry slam.
Oh, man. Yeah, so that's basically Gigantoraptor. I mean, we would normally look for more info in your book, but someone, I'm not getting on to you. Someone forgot their book this time. That's okay. Most of my co-hosts, they don't do any further research.
Sorry, folks, I forgot my book.
That's okay.
Time, hopefully.
That's okay. That's okay. You're one of the few co-hosts that actually does further research alongside me. Most of the time, their other co-hosts are just along for the ride. Wow. So let's rate it 1 out of 65 million. I'm going to rate it like a 61 or 2 million. Like, maybe even a little bit higher, maybe 64 million. I don't know what it loses points. Maybe it's just maybe it only loses points because it's not usually my preferred type of dinosaur.
I'm going to give it a 63.5.
63,500,000. Got it.
Yeah.
So nice. That's pretty good. All right, well, that's it for this week. If you want to get a hold of the show, you can contact me at mattd@matthewdoncreator.com. For intro questions to me or any of the co-hosts, you can find me on social media at MatthewDonCreator on Facebook and MatthewDon64 everywhere else. So Twitter, however long that lasts, Instagram, TikTok, Mastodon when that becomes a thing. Have you heard of Mastodon?
There's a social network called Mastodon?
Yes, and it's going to like when Elon Musk bought Twitter and everyone was freaking out about Twitter going under, a lot of people moved to this place called Mastodon.
Okay, I'll have to look that up.
It's a bit less user friendly. It's kind of like Discord and that there are servers.
Oh, I hate Discord.
Yes, Discord is hard for me to get a hold of. But I don't know, it's called Mastodon, so I feel like I should start an account there somewhere.
You should.
Yeah. Anyways. What about you? Where can I find you?
You can find me at my author's website, stephencccurro.com, stephencurro.com.
Stephen C. Curro, yes.
You can find information on the books and short stories. Book, mini novelette book, one book.
Yes.
And other short stories that I published. Shoot me an email. You can hunt me down on Facebook, though I don't post on it very often.
Yep. Nope. Exactly. So that's okay. Look, social media, well, the world is better off without it in so many ways, but it's so addicting.
I know, like it's good for getting messages out.
Especially
When you-
TikTok. TikTok is very good for getting
Right.
messages out for like Generation Z. A lot of people credit the election in 2022 going as well as it did due to TikTok.
Well, there you have
So
it.
that's why Republicans are trying to like, not to get all political here, but that's why Republicans are trying to shut it down because they can't use it to, as well as Facebook and Twitter, to manipulate people.
I do have a friend who sends me TikTok videos, and sometimes they're goofy, but sometimes they're like very thoughtful political.
Oh no, there's some
statements.
thoughtful
I was like,
stuff.
wow.
There's some thoughtful stuff. There's some like stuff about science. I follow some dinosaur TikTokers that describe various things, and then other times there's just girls dancing or animals being dumb.
Social media. It's a strange thing. At least it's better than Nextdoor. Nextdoor is just like a toxic cesspool.
I have never heard of Nextdoor, and I'm going to keep it that way. It sounds like. I got Book Series on Amazon, Megazoic, available for print and Kindle. Like we said, there is a Gigantoraptor in it. Brookie, yes, she's pretty good, pretty silly. Because like since Gigantoraptor has like almost wings, kind of like a chicken, like or like an ostrich, I imagine that she had all these little missile launchers all throughout her wings, so that she just held her wings out and they just barrage.
Hence her signature line: missiles, missiles, missiles.
Yeah, exactly. She's just daka.
I don't know. It's just ridiculous.
It's very ridiculous, and it goes into the whole thing of like the mental triggers thing. They don't need to actually press a trigger to fire it; they fire just by thinking it.
Yeah.
Which is very dangerous for someone like Brookie. So, anyways, I also have another book called Teslanauts. First of a new series. Second one hopefully could be coming out later this year. We'll just have to see. And I have another podcast called The Rit Wit, currently on a different hiatus, blah, blah, blah. That's it for this week. That's the end of every episode of Paleobites. Missiles. Explosions, carnage, destruction.
Kaboom.
Kaboom.
Yeah.
All right.